Hi there, come on in. I'm Fred Trost, welcoming you to the first show of the year 2001. This is Thursday night, January 4th. You're watching The Practical Sportsman. And on this show, we're going to talk about some of those golden moments, some of those fun things that happen outdoors that make it all worthwhile. Some of them with youngsters and some of them with the older guys. But that's what the outdoors is all about. Stay tuned.
If I tell you, I'll have to kill you.
Why am I so adamant about including family and friends and fun as being the focus of the outdoors? Well, I tell you, here's a little news item here that the National Shooting Sports Foundation put out. It says hunting license sales increase. It says that hunting license sales rebounded significantly in 1999, and this is after 9 years of declines. Now, what was this rebounding? 1.7%. But here's the distressing part. Of the top 10 or core hunting states, 8 showed increases and 2 reported declines. So here are the ones with the increases. Michigan is not on that list. Michigan posts a decline. See, I think that we have to focus more on the fun of the outdoors. It's not about trophies. It's about those golden moments, like this one.
Hey, Kevin, come here.
What's he faking, or we got one?
Not me, you. Kevin.
We're going to get this one to Kevin?
He is.
Kevin. Hey, Kev.
Kevin, come here.
That way.
You want you to reel this for him. There, Kev. Hold down. Reel it in. Reel it in.
How you doing, Kev?
Hi.
Reel it.
Hi.
Reel it.
Okay, don't get in the way, Caitlin. This is his
Reel it.
moment of glory.
Reel it.
How's he doing?
Oh, it's still on.
Gaining on it?
Reel it. Real fast, Kev.
Is that fun, Kev? Get tired?
Keep reeling, Kev. Reel it fast.
You're reeling it in, Kevin.
Bring it in.
I can do it real fast.
Keep going.
I can do it faster.
Don't give up now.
It's coming.
Got
There it is.
There we go.
There it is. It's coming. Whoa. Keep reeling, Kev.
it, Kev. Got it, Kevin. Kevin, you got it.
Kevin! All right, Kevin!
Fish it.
How about that? Turn around and smile to the camera next to the fish.
Turn up. Give Fred a high five.
High five. All right, yes.
Come on,
There you
Kevin.
go, Kevin.
There's your fish.
That's your...
Look at that.
Ew.
You happy with that, Kev?
His stomach. Ugh.
Fish.
Look at that stomach. Ugh.
Well, thank you, Mr. Tim.
Hey, thank you, Kevin. Put it in your bucket.
Thank you.
Put in the bucket there. Where's your bucket? Right there. Look at that.
Kevin, you got it.
All right, Kevin!
Fish it.
Well, you see, that really wasn't a trophy tale, but it was a golden moment. Now, here's another story that started off in our trophy tale context, but I called it a matrimonial tale, and I tell you what, that was just the beginning. Richard Taylor from Redford got this buck in Livingston County. Livingston County produced quite a few big bucks this past season. The 10-pointer, 20-inch spread. What's the scoop on this?
Well, the scoop is...
You might remember Richard Taylor's story from last year's Hunting Awards banquet, and if you do, the significant part was not about the buck. The significant part was about his girlfriend, who I met down at the Mill Creek buck pole this past deer season. Now, the deer season before, she and Richard had a dinner date one night when he tried to work in a deer hunt. Now, you know how that goes.
I looked down at my watch. I said, well, 6:30's up. Better get going, and went to take the arrow out of my string. I looked over, and this guy was kind of looking up in my general direction. I said, well, I think I'm going to be a little late for dinner. So by the time we drug him out and everything like that, there were 3 messages on my cell phone. and all coming from her phone number, so I didn't know whether to return her call or not. So thanks. So I figured I better move back up to Michigan and say the heck with my job, so I did.
Oh, very good. When you getting hitched?
I don't know. We're kind of taking it day by day, but she's worth the drive.
worth the drive.
Up to Michigan, sure.
Very good, very good. I would have liked to hear those messages. Do you just happen to still have those saved?
No, but I can tell you they're certainly implanted in my memory. The first one was, well, you know, Rick, it's getting kind of close. I hope you're coming home, and I'll see you soon. The second message was, Rick, we're supposed to go out tonight. The third message was, well, I guess I'll just see you whenever you get here. So upon bringing the deer back, I called her up right away, and I told her that I got a biggest deer I ever got. So she was actually really happy for me. And I said, well, I think she's a keeper. And
Very good, and we'll wait to hear the end of that story next year.
Well, you kind of pushed the issue when I got a really nice deer last fall and with my longbow, and you asked me if it was worth coming up to Michigan to see my girlfriend and asked me when I was going to get hitched. So I proposed to Sharon after that, and we're getting married February 19th.
All right. Very good.
So in part I have you to thank for that.
Yeah, well, hey, I did the best I could.
Well, thank you.
And you did a good job.
Well, good work, Sharon. Yeah. No bucks this year?
2 does with the bow. That's about it.
Well, very good.
Thanks.
Congratulations. The saga continues.
Yes, it does. We got married back in February, and now we're having a baby in a month and a half.
A month and a half. Well, let's see. Let's get a good side shot on that. There we go. And do you know whether it's going to be a boy or a girl? A boy.
Yeah, it's going to be a little Ricky.
A little Ricky.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. So next fall we'll be here, and we'll have a little one with us.
And you know, this started off sort of a joke.
Yeah.
On your show.
You put him on the spot.
On your show. You put me on the spot.
I'll be darned. Now let's see.
I was happy in Florida.
So now, this will be born when?
January 14th.
January 14th. So that would make it around March, around the time of the banquets.
Yeah, that's about it.
When little Ricky was conceived. Boy, I don't know what you're going to do.
It was a good night. I had a lot of fun that night.
When I was a youngster, I liked to collect a lot of different things. I had a bullet collection, and I had dreams of having a trophy collection someday, you know, big game animals that I'd get. And I even got into taxidermy. I took a correspondence course when I was about, 9 years old. My father and I did this mount. Check it out. It has not held up well over the years. But Tim Hayes is showing me how to do taxidermy with the modern techniques, and I find it fascinating.
This is just one of the newer poses. It's just been introduced to the market in the last year. It's what they call a wall pedestal. What's a little different about it is it's got a pretty good turn to it, but the deer's still looking straight into the room. It's also got what they call a Fleming nose, where the mouth is partially open and the deer's curling his nose up like he's smelling.
Well, you can see his teeth in there.
Yeah, you get in there and you look, you can see a lot of different things. There's, the tongue's there, the upper palate's there, the nose is open fairly wide because he is smelling. You can see the inner nose septum. There's a little vein work in there.
This is one of the more animated, realistic mouths and noses I've seen, so is this the high point of this mount?
Well, it's the focal point of it. It shows the deer sniffing or smelling. You also get a good look and you see how the grazing animal has no upper front teeth. It's quite detailed.
Well, why is it pink inside the nose?
Well, when you start looking inside the nose, it's the inner septum. It's mainly a fleshy color. There's a little bit of vein work inside there to give it some extra detail. Just some extra touches.
Now that costs extra money to have
Well, yeah,
that done.
extra work is extra money, so.
Now, the other thing, it has kind of wrinkles on top of its nose.
Yeah, when a deer sniffs, it pulls its nose up, and quite often the deer likes to keep its nose wet, so it's always sticking its tongue up there and licking its nose, and the tongue would come up and actually go right inside the nostrils and pull back down and then come up. so that it can smell better. And when it smells, you know, it pulls its nose up, and you get the slight wrinkling effect on the bridge.
Well, you can also see veins, I think, on the side by his, I don't know, is that veins in there I can see, or just that detail?
He does have a vein work that runs down in here. It's kind of Y-shaped. It shows more in a really short-haired deer. This is a gun kill, so its hair's getting to cover up most of that finer detail.
And on that side around its neck, where its neck is turned?
Yeah, just some wrinkling effect. You know, you bend anywhere, you bend your hand, you're going to have wrinkles. So when he turns his head, it'll wrinkle up.
Now, how much more does that cost to have that kind of detail done on a mount than if it just had its mount? You have some other mounts, I think, that are on the same form.
Same basic form. The extra pedestal part is usually not. You know, everybody's going to charge something different. I tend to charge an extra $100. It is a considerable amount of work. It takes a special hanger. The back has to be finished. And of course, in this one, we just used a black buckskin leather, which kind of makes it nice. It's not real visible because the wall cuts the angle down on it.
If you have questions about taxidermy, the field care of game, or how to develop an interesting taxidermy collection yourself, Tim Hayes and his partner Don Gadilli will be working on deer heads at the museum this Saturday from 10 till 4. They welcome your questions and invite you to watch them work. Here at our Museum of Outdoor Collectibles, I find everything that I put up in collections, whether it's knives or fishing bobbers or whatever, I get real interested in. And I find when you talk to an expert, like I did with Mike Stewart, I mean, he's a custom knife maker and a weapons expert. I asked him about this knife that Gary Craig, Professor Finns, gave me for the museum. And I asked Mike if he knows who made it.
I don't know. I think if we hit that with a buffer, we might get a company name out of here. But it obviously says Bowie, so do you think Jim Bowie made it? I don't think so. This doesn't, in my opinion, look anything like the knife that Jim Bowie carried. This is what we all call a Bowie knife as Americans. And we have influenced the entire world to think that this is a Bowie knife. Now, of course, this one is one because it says so. But this particular shape is what we in the knife industry called the Iron Mistress shape. And the reason we call it that is because this was made famous by the movie Jim Bowie with Alan Ladd in the 1950s. The movie was called The Iron Mistress, and this is the shape of the knife that Jim Bowie used in that movie. It is nothing to do with real history. This is probably not the shape. Now, were there knives in the late 1700s and 1800s that were shaped like this? Yes, there were. This was a not common, but definite Sheffield pattern Bowie knife. Now, Bowie knife by the 1850s, 1860s, into the turn of the century, really translated to really big knife. It could be shaped almost any way. This is the one that we as Americans attribute most to be a Bowie knife. Now, what makes that pattern is a massive blade. From the guard forward, the blade swoops upward. It then is clipped in a circular way down. Sometimes the point comes up higher, but you always have that nice circular cut there. And then the grind of the blade, this is what we call the plunge line, would be someplace between here and here. And then the grind is either, this is a shallow grind. Sometimes the grind goes all the way up to the top. And sometimes you'll have what we call a fuller, which is a line through here, which is a carryover from swords. People call them blood grooves. There's no such thing as a blood groove. It's just a fuller. And the guard, you see the S-shaped guard? Very common on the European imports to this country. Full tang design. That's all one piece of steel, front to back. See it? These are slabs. And then what we call bird's beak handle. That's to prevent the knife from coming out of your hand. Gives the little finger something to support against. Now, this design was Americanized by a number of companies. The most famous being Western Cutlery, Collins, and Case. This knife, shaped like this, not this one, but a knife shaped like this, a little thinner than this, was made for the U.S. government during World War II, used in the Pacific Theater, and it was called the V-44 Bowie. In other words, victory in 44.
You mean it was a combat knife?
Oh yes, it was issued. It was absolutely issued during that period. Collins Machete Company made a lot of them, and Western Cutlery also made them. And one of the company, which is the rarest of all of the V-44s, which is a company called Kinsfolk, which survived the war, but then went bankrupt shortly after the war. But Kinfolk Cutlery also made them. Those are the three people that made them, and they were called V-44s. Now, after the war, Collins no longer made them. Western made them as their W-49, and still makes them today. They are still made today in a 9-inch blade version. And then Case has introduced theirs on and off a number of times between World War II and the present. They'll make them for 3 or 4 years with some kind of really nice commemorative thing on it, and then they'll discontinue them, and then they'll bring them back. But Western makes these every day. There for a while, in the late 70s, early 80s, the W-49 was actually the most popular knife made by Western Cutlery when they were still in Colorado. They're now in New York. Bowies will always have an unbelievable fascination for Americans. Are they practical? No. In today's world, not in the day of pop-up tents and 4x4s and automatic winches, will they always be collectible? Absolutely. People love big collectible knives that have a lot of perceived value. This is one because it doesn't seem to have, it has a number 17 on it, which means it may have been the 17th one made by this maker. It doesn't appear to have a lot of collector value. It's also kind of crudely made. I would, in a heartbeat, clean this one up. This is one that I'd polish it. I'd polish that out real nice. I'd refinish the wood without taking anything off. I would just remove the finish. I would clean this one up. I'd polish this brass. This would make one of the most beautiful showpieces on the wall that you could ever have. And you wouldn't hurt the value of this knife at all by doing it.
What do you think it's worth?
Oh, this is, because of its massive size, gosh, I think $125 to $300 to the right buyer, easily.
Really?
Easily. Simply because of the perceived value of a big Bowie knife.
Does the fact that it says Bowie on it make any difference?
No, none whatsoever. You can write Bowie on anything. You can write Bill Bowie on the side of my car. Doesn't mean a thing.
Mike gave me this book. It's Levine's Guide to Knives and Their Values. Looked in here on page 444, and there they are. There's that Bowie-style knife, the Case, Western, Kinfolks, and Collins, ranging in value from $200 to $600. What I'm holding here is an Emmy Award. I was awarded this Emmy Award, let's see, that was back in 1989 for a certain show we did in the Old Michigan Outdoors series. So that was a proud moment to get this Emmy Award. I haven't really thought about this in a number of years, but we did have at our last Fishing Awards banquet, our Marbles Fishing Awards banquet, we had a fellow there who honestly should have been and may at some point be in the Oscars with his Marbles trophy tail. Ron Bergin from Kentwood got this walleye the middle of June, Torch Lake up in Houghton County.
Yep, right up there and just in the far end of the big water up there. A lot of water. The one side there especially, but it's pretty shallow.
I feel like I'm talking to John Wayne or Charlton Heston or...
Yeah, I've been told that before. So,
see, I bet you can mesmerize people with your stories.
Well, I'll tell you this, my son-in-law is, he's strictly a worm fisherman, and I'm a repellent man, so he made me a believer. I caught this with a crawler harness, but we fished all day, never got a bite all day, and at 7:30 that night, we got her.
You know what? You have the perfect voice for this. I got to hear this coming from your mouth, okay? Let me ask you where you caught this fish from, and I want you to tell me. If I tell you, I have to kill you. Tell me, where'd you get this fish from?
Torch light.
Oh, no. No, I got to hear this. I got to hear this.
Okay.
So where do you get this fish from? If I tell you, I have to kill you.
If I tell you, I'll have to kill you.
Now, just one more thing I want you to ask me is ask me, say, I want you to do me a favor.
I want you to do me a favor.
Yes, sir, I will. Whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Well, Ron Bergin from Kentwood, great story, great voice. Look for him in the movies. There you go. Now, Ron Bergin's story was sort of like The Godfather, and next week we're going to have a show that's more like The Perfect Storm.
We're pretty safe on here. It'd just be a lot of wind, so hang on to your hat.
December 2000 was a month of storms in Michigan, causing many of us to long for the warmth of summer. But you know, summer has storms of its own, and they can be brutal in their own way.
Pretty hard to hold it in that kind of wind. And we saw 3 water spouts, and he had one across his bow. Very small one.
Michigan's answer to the perfect storm on Practical Sportsman this week on Public TV. Boy, it'd sure be nice to have a week off without a winter storm for once. I tell you, it's been brutal out there. But there's lots to do inside, working on collections, working on your fishing tackle, or reloading shells. There's always something to do with hunting and fishing. So I hope you enjoy yourself, because I want to see you back here next week. You loving this fish, Cameron?
Yep.
I mean, it looks here in the picture like you're literally hugging it, hanging on to it. What kind of fish is this?
A shad.
And where did you catch it?
I forgot.
It was the Huron River.
Uh-huh.
You were fishing in April. Were you fishing for shad, do you know? Or who were you fishing with?
My dad and his friend.
Okay, and were you casting or what?
Casting.
Did you cast all by yourself and catch this?
Yeah.
You did. Cast out, reel in, cast out, reel in, and then this one hit. Any idea how long it took you to bring it in?
10.
10 hours?
No.
Minutes. 10 minutes. Wow, is that the biggest fish you ever caught?
Yep.
How old are you?
6.
So, were you 5 when you caught this?
6.
Okay, so you're almost going to be 7 pretty soon.
In May.
In May. But you're looking good. You're a good looking, when did you lose those front teeth?
This one was in, both of them were in March.
In March? Okay. And how much did you get for them?
One's for 10 and one's for, $5.
Dollars? Whoa! Ooh, the tooth fairies. Maybe I'll be starting losing my teeth pretty soon at my age and can cash in. Well, that's awesome. Well, that's a great picture. Was that a fun day for you?
Mm-hmm.
That looks like it. Well, Cameron Goldie, here, take that picture there. I want to shake your hand, too. Put it there, my man. Congratulations. The largest gizzard shad, 17 inches.
let you go.